Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. These are my recommendations for a summer palette for 2023. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This video is going to be an overview of some eyeshadow palettes that I think are perfect for the summertime. And I did this video twice before, so I'll make sure to link those down below because I won't be doubling up on any of the palettes I've mentioned previously. Now this is a bit of a hypothetical video because I don't tend to tailor my makeup to whatever season it is. I mean, we're in the midst of summer and I'm wearing a smoky eye. So you know, we don't have to, but I'm making up for it with my little palm tree print shirt, wouldn't you say? But yeah, so this is a bit of a hypothetical. I don't necessarily just use these kinds of palettes, but if I think of summer and if I were to capture that into an eyeshadow palette, this would be it. Before we get into the video though, it may be good to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly skews my makeup preferences and what I like buying and trying and what preferences I have. I've been a makeup reviewer for more than a decade, so I have a giant overview of a lot of products that have been around for a while, and if I say something is a favorite, it's a favorite. And I really enjoy eyeshadow palettes, which is why I like to do these kind of videos, as well as Essence and Catrice. Plus, I love getting the use out of my makeup, so I hope you're here for that. And if you are, then I hope you would like to consider subscribing by clicking subscribe down below and joining the Snow Angel family. The first palette I'd like to show you is one that I'm surprised I've never shown in a summer palette video, because if you know anything about me, you know I love a cool tone. That's my vibe. Because of my undertone, because of my skin tone, I feel that cool tone shadows work a bit better for me than most warm toned or very colorful things. But especially in the summertime, I'm not saying my skin tone changes a lot. I don't really tan. I stay this pale year round. I just get a little bit paler in the wintertime, and I get a little bit more glow in the summertime if I've been on vacation. So that does mean that because my coloring does change slightly, my preferences do change a little bit. So if I want to go for a warm tone, it's right now. And I've never mentioned this before. Well, who am I? Naked Honey by Urban Decay. Is this still around? I'm not even sure. But I'm surprised I've never used this for a summer palette overview. Maybe I did put it in like a fall or a spring edition of videos like this, but I've never shown it in a summer overview, and I think that these kind of warm tones, a little bit more yellow leaning on the mustardy side. I have a linen dress from And Other Stories that's exactly like these sort of brown tones. Exactly this. So, and I have a linen play suit from Urban Outfitters that's in a similar shade. So I love these shades already in my fashion choices for the summer season. So why not love as an eyeshadow palette? It just didn't make sense to my brain. So I was very surprised as I was going through my makeup drawers that this one has not yet been featured in one of my summer palette videos, because I've done these in the past and this has never been gotten a mention. So had to change that. So Urban Decay Naked Honey for sure. This next color story is one that I have mentioned in the past from other brands. I still stand by those, I still like those, but I've come into something new that is a warm tone neutral with a pop of teal. The San Francisco Étoile from Viseart does exactly that. So warm tones with blues, and we're seeing a lot of warm tones with greens at the minute as well. That's what a lot of brands are coming out with. But I feel I don't necessarily need to buy all the new things if I already have something in my collection. So I tried this earlier in the year, and I think this is perfect for like right now, especially because it's got that orange. Now, orange eyeshadow is not my forte. It's not my cup of tea. I don't love it on myself. But if I want to make my eyes a little bit more brown looking, then a shade like this can still work for me. But for me, it's really these two shades that make the palette. The neutrals are lovely. They're not overly warm toned. They're more neutral leaning for sure. They are on the warm-ish side. And we get this like peachy shade here. But that's really, really lovely actually. And it pairs really well with the teal. And I think that, you know, a teal with an orange can be a really nice color clash as well. So I think this little 8-pan actually has a lot to offer. It's got really fun packaging with the skyline here as well. It's great for travel as well. So if you're traveling this summer, I think these little Viseart palettes have a lot going for them. Plus these are magnetic and you can take out the shades and you can rearrange them if you have a few of these. So you can very easily build your custom palette as well. So I think that this just makes sense, not only from a color story point of view, but also from a packaging point of view, that if you're traveling in the summertime, I think these little Viseart palettes are definitely a good one. Now I've got a couple where it's like 2 for 1, you could say, because again, I've never mentioned these before as summer palettes, and I think both of them can be good ones, but they're by the same brand, so I was like, I'll rope them in together. And it's the latest 2 Tartelette palettes that have come out. So the Tartelette Juicy and the Tartelette Energy. Now the Energy I've yet to review. I haven't put it on my face yet, but the Juicy I have, and I think that this color story, it's a little bit more warm toned than I would usually go for, but it does have that warm pink tone, which I think is really lovely. And then you get these warmer tones here. This is a bit more neutral. I think this is lovely, lovely for the summertime. It's not quite right for my undertone, but I think if I'm gonna get away with it, it's like August, September time that I can really make these kind of shadows work. Now the Energy, I feel, is a very similar vibe to the Juicy. It's again quite warm toned, but here we get the warm tones mainly in the bottom row, and then we get some berries and plums. And I love a berry in the summertime. I just do. I've shown other berry palettes I have in a previous summer video, so I think this is nice because you get a lot of different shades in here. There's actually quite a few shimmers, which for the Tarte palettes, for instance, the In Bloom, it only has 3 shimmers and everything else is matte. And here I now see we get 5 mattes and 7 shimmers. So that's lovely. I think the middle row is going to be my favorite. This is a bit more warm toned. Get this really nice like coppery bronze, which I'm really excited for to see how it works. I will be testing this out for you in August. So stay tuned for my eyeshadow palette reviews if you want to see more on that. But yeah, this is a seemingly lovely color story for the summertime. Speaking of something that's like a warm tone neutral, like a bronze eye, like if I go for a bronze eye, it's gonna be right now. I've decluttered most of the palettes that can do that for me because it's not my go-to. I mean, anyone who remembers the original Urban Decay Naked palette, you know what look I'm talking about. But I still have something, and this is more neutral than it's super duper warm toned, but it's the M Cosmetics Divine Skies eyeshadow palette in the shade Rodin. And this palette was a little bit more warm toned than I had expected, but again, it has this really nice like peachy bronze, like especially this like goldeny tone. This is summer in a palette. Like if you want neutrals for summer, this would be it, according to me. You don't have to go super warm tone because you do get a pretty good neutral, and also this is a little bit more cool tone perhaps, but I feel that especially in the shimmers and especially this bronze that has that bit of a golden flash to it is going to be what makes this palette for me. So if you want that warm toned bronzy eye but you don't want it to be overly warm toned and too golden, then I think this is a great neutral option for right now. But I also love wearing some color, and to my surprise, again, I had not shared these as being great summer palettes before. So I'm holding up 2 Menagerie palettes. This is the Feral. I just played with this again in June and I loved it. I've told you many times before how I love playing with the greens in here, but you know, if I'm going to be wearing brights like this, it has to be summertime, else it doesn't work in my brain. And I love this like aqua teal shade because it reminds me of like a lake. So it's sort of like you get your neutrals, but you get some pops of color. I still want to do a look one day with like these pinks and then clashing it with the blue, because I think that is the ultimate summer look. I don't love pinks and reds on myself, but for the summertime, something can really work there. So maybe I need to do that look in like August or something and just play around with it and try it out. But yeah, Menagerie definitely has a couple of good options. So that's the Feral, they still do it. And the Whale Song. Now when I open up mine, it's different because I took my violet ink and I've put shades from the violet ink in here and took some of the neutrally things out to truly, or more truly, make it a blue-green palette. Some of the greens in here pulled very similarly on me, which is why I took some of it out as well. I still have all the shades. But yeah, we get some really stunning greens in here, all those really lovely blues. I love a blue-green palette. I've shared some of my other blue-green palettes as my summer picks in the past. And I was surprised to find out that I hadn't shared this before. So that's why the Whale Song by Menagerie also had to get a mention. And then a palette that I think you can no longer buy, sadly. It's by Sydney Grace. It's their Sweet Indulgence palette. This was a gift from a subscriber, and I didn't think I was gonna love it. And then I tried it and I was like, oh my, this has the lovely Sydney Grace formula that I know and adore. And isn't this just summer in a palette? I mean, we get a mustardy brown, we get that teal, but then we also get plenty of neutrals. We get a little bit of a pinky peach moment, a pop of purple, and then these rosy tones. This is very, very much summer in a palette for me. I'm not sure if I shared this in my spring overview as well. Maybe I might have and listed it as a spring palette as well. But for me, spring and summer, especially this year, we've barely had spring. It was like very cold and wet and rainy for months until like well into May over here. And then instantly we got nice weather. So this year we kind of skipped spring, it seems, and we went into summer straight away. So for me, that's why my brain now says, this is lovely, and we all know I love a neutral with a pop of teal. It's why I love the San Francisco. I think I like this color story just a little bit better because these pinky tones worked really well. This peach shade is absolutely stunning, and I was very impressed with the quality of these shadows. So if they still do this, I don't think they do, but yeah, this is a good one. I've just mentioned not loving pinks and reds, and I do have the Cherry Crush palette from ColourPop. This is another one of my rearranged color stories. This contains shades from the Main Squeeze, the Strawberry Milkshake, the Ooh La La, the It's My Pleasure, and the Cherry Crush. So this is like a lot of like pinky purple palettes, reddish tones that ColourPop has done in the past, and this is what mine looks like. If I'm gonna wear something like this, it's this time of year. We get again this like peachy tone. This is again also a little bit of like a pinky flash. We get a little bit of purple in here, and then we just have these lovely pinks. Like if I'm gonna wear something like this, it's gonna be this time of year. I don't wear these kind of shades a whole lot, which is why I kind of conglomerated a lot of these palettes into one, because I wasn't loving those color stories by themselves, very monochromatic. This way I'm hoping to get a little bit more use out of it, but to be quite fair, I haven't gone back to this since building it, because I've rearranged this twice since I first rearranged it, I think. So maybe I should just, again, put it on a I need to go back to this pile for something like August to get some more use out of it and try it, but yeah. Pinks and reds, they're just not really my shades. They can give me pink eye quite easily, but it makes for a very nice vibe and pop as well. So I'm gonna perhaps have a play with this in the future and see whether I can get down with it and maybe in the end possibly declutter it. Then again, these are some really good shades. Like these are very good performing eyeshadows, and I don't just want to get rid of things for the sake of getting rid of things. It's good to have a couple of things on hand that maybe you don't reach for a whole lot, but that sort of get your creative juices flowing as well. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's definitely what goes into it for me as well. So yeah, I like the Cherry Crush. I really like what I ended up doing with this palette in terms of changing the color story around, but it's not necessarily something that I need. And then the final 2-for-1, Glam Shop, especially their green palettes and especially their new one. I think the other one I have is no longer available. I don't know how to pronounce it because this is Polish, but I'm pretty sure it's something like to do with green. And I mentioned in my new makeup releases video earlier in the week that I wasn't going to be buying any of the newly released neutrals with a pop of green palette because I have this. Because this is going to do what the new Natasha Denona Yucca does, what the new Odin's Eye palette does, what the new Nomad palette does. Like every brand seems to be coming out with a color story that fits this bill. We get some warm tone neutrals, and then everything else in here is green. And the reason why I think I like this even better is because this is more green heavy than it is neutral heavy. Because the Natasha Denona, for instance, has quite a lot of like yellow tone browns in it, and this doesn't contain a single brown. Like this shimmer has a brown undertone, but you can see in the pan that it has this like greeny gold flip. Very, very stunning. We really just get these two yellows here, and then everything else like this really murky green matte I adore. These two shimmers are really lovely, and then we have those ones. But where this palette really beats those more, like those other palettes for me, is their price point. This is only 20 euros. It's sold within the European Union, which for me means I don't have to pay for shipping and handling fees, or at least not that many. When it comes to, for instance, Odin's Eye, or like Odin's Eye is not that bad, but with Nomad I would have to pay for additional customs. Natasha Denona is not available where I live either, so all those brands are a little bit harder to get, and then this at 20 euros is just a much better deal in my brain than any of the other ones that I just mentioned. So there's a lot of brands doing this kind of color story right now, and this is has been my pick. But I think it's a really nice complementary palette as well. They did an all green palette. I believe this is Polish for green. Again, I cannot pronounce the name. Here we just get some more vibrant shades. Maybe this could have gone in the other palette as well, so you can see there's a little bit of overlap here. We get some brighter green shades, something that's more like a gold almost as well. So I think that if I put these two color stories together, let me do that for you for a minute. Do you just see that this goes together really nicely? Maybe you don't even need both. Like if you don't have this, because I believe this has been discontinued, then this can just be a really good alternative. This I've tried already. This is still on the review pile. I think August or September I'm going to be reviewing the newer Glam Shop palettes that I've just bought. Next up, Pat McGrath Utopian Dream. And I was surprised that I hadn't mentioned this before as well. This is another palette that I've had for a bit, but I think this color story just screams summer. I mean, with the peaches and then these vibrant like pops of lavender that we get in here, it's a little bit pink heavy, but I think that something like this is quite similar to something that's in the Sydney Grace palette. It just doesn't have that pop of teal that I really appreciate. But this bronze is also a perfect summer shade together with the gold. The multi-chrome that's in here is really interesting as well. This warmer tone brown. So I think that in terms of like a peachy pink brown tone neutrally palette that has something special, this is the one that I've kept over the Divine Rose 2. And I think this is far better for my personal complexion. And I just think that this is a great color story for the summertime. I think I'm gonna have to put this one in a palettes I need to go back to video next month for sure. Like, this is one that I've now decided I'm gonna be putting in that video in August, because I just think it's so perfect for this time of year. And one of the more recent colorful palettes I tried is the Nomad Monteverdi Cloud Forest. So that had to get a mention as well, because this is such a stunning, very bright, fun pop of something. Like it's an explosion of color, and it's not necessarily something I wear a lot, but like I mentioned, if I'm gonna be wearing very colorful eyeshadow, it is going to be the summertime. This is a very green heavy palette. There are mainly greens. I think there are 2 green shades in every row. Yes, at least 2 greens in every row. Sometimes even a little bit more. And then you just have these bright pops of something that's like nearly neon with some pastels. It's a very stunning, colorful eyeshadow. I did enjoy this quite a bit. It's, in terms of ranking overall, because it is so vibrant, and I know I don't wear this a whole lot, it didn't get ranked super high, but if I'm thinking of like summer palettes and things that could be perfect, this is what I want. Ooh, it matches my shirt. It's palm trees though. It's like a beach scene on my shirt. It's not a jungle scene. But yeah, the Nomad Monteverdi Cloud Forest, I think, is another perfect one for the summertime. So that's it. There we have it. Those were the summer eyeshadow palettes that I wanted to recommend to you. These are some updated picks for 2023. I will have my other 2 videos linked in the description box down below. So if you want to see what I recommended last year and the year before that, then you can find out, of course. But yeah, these are mine. Let me know in a comment down below what you will be wearing this summer. I would love to know. Maybe you're like me and you don't really stick to these kind of things for like a certain season. But you know, sometimes things just work a little bit better with your skin tone because it kind of changes a bit. Maybe you're like me and you also get a little bit more oily over the summertime than you do in the wintertime, and you have to change other steps as well. And then that's also sort of means that I have a slightly different preference to what I like to wear in terms of like eyeshadows as well, like colorful things. So I really hope you enjoyed watching today's video. Thumbs it up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, 4 in total. So like stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye bye!